Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Great story, OP. Congratulations on beating the Shady used car salesman. Your kids deserve medals. Well played, all of you. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. No money back? We'll see about that. A few years ago, when my kids were 3 and 7, we were looking for a new car for my wife. After scouring Auto Trader, we're in the UK, we saw a Mazda Zito 6, decent mileage, couple of owners, and a small Traders down south. It was about an hour away, so we hopped in my car and went to look at it. We arrived at the site, which had some decent-looking cars, and it was a nice and tidy place, so it didn't ring any alarm bells. We were greeted by one of two brothers who seemed knowledgeable and pretty free of the hard sell. I had a look around the car, very little rushed, oil looked clean, tidy inside with not too much wear. The only two things I found was the head unit panel was not in place correctly, and one of the brackets by the engine had a bit of a dent in it, but it was a non-functional bracket and it didn't appear to have a prang, so okay. Took it for a test drive and it was okay. My wife liked it, so we paid part cash, part card. A few days later, after sorting the insurance, we went and collected it. By the time we got home, my wife got out and immediately said, "There's something wrong with this car." I took it for a drive and yes, it had low power, sounded terrible, and didn't feel safe. I immediately rang them and they were pleasant enough and said bring it back and they'd have their garage look at it, the same garage that had MOT'd it barely 2 weeks earlier. I said I didn't want to bring it back and would pay out of pocket to get it assessed by my garage. They didn't like this, but I didn't give them a choice. After a couple days of being at my local garage, who we've used for years and trust, even though they're a bit pricey, we got the report. It ran 2 pages, which I'll summarize using the comment the mechanic gave us when we picked it up. Mechanically, this is the worst car I've ever seen. How it passed an MOT is beyond me. You wouldn't have seen it on a visual inspection, but this car is trash. Oh dear. So I rang the dealer and sent them the report. Again, pleasant enough, said bring it back and we can discuss it and sort out the refund. Cue the MC. So the following Saturday, now 1.5 weeks since we bought it, we all trooped back down there and walked into their little porta-cabin office. The two brothers sat with their faces like slap butts. "I'll tell you now, sir, you'll not be getting a refund today, not until our garage has checked it." My wife and I looked at each other and our hearts sank. What followed was an hour of back and forth with me explaining that we were within our rights to a full refund within 30 days of purchase. Now this is true for goods in the UK, but I had no idea if this applied to vehicles. After an hour, my wife and I stepped outside. The kids were getting bored and fractious. "What are we going to do?" says my wife. "Well, I'm not leaving without a refund," I said. Agreed. And that was it. We went back into that office, we argued back and forth, revisited the same point over and over while the kids moaned, cried, begged to leave, but we sat there, and we argued very calmly, very matter-of-factly, without getting angry or raising our voices. At a couple of points, one brother left to serve people who had walked into the yard, and at one point he came in with another couple who were interested in a car. They heard us talking, I slyly shook my head at the couple, and they backtracked and left. One of the brothers was raging behind his eyes. They threatened to call the police. I begged them to do it so we could clear this up and leave. They didn't. After, and I'm not exaggerating, 5 hours of this, my wife and I stepped out and we stood just outside the office door. "Look, we can't stay here any longer. The kids are hungry and tired and mental," my wife says. I saw the door open barely an inch. "Okay, take my car and go feed them. I'm not leaving. I think I'll just call the police and get this sorted, but if I have to stay here until tomorrow morning, we're getting our money back," I said. I noticed the door close again. "Really?" she said. "Just give it a minute. Let's go back in a sec." "Okay," she says, looking irritated. We go back in and one brother is counting out cash on the table. At this point, it's early evening. "Sir, the deal we'll do is we'll give you a full refund if you don't mention this car on any review site. It was X in cash and X on a card, yes?" Less than 5 minutes later, we were back in our car, cash in hand and card refunded. We'd found a pub that does food and were headed there rapidly. Kids were okay now they knew food was near. With everything sorted, my wife and I looked at each other for a second and cheered, whooped, hollered, banged the steering wheel. made the little lad cry, bless him. We couldn't believe that after 5 hours of back and forth, crying kids, belligerent salesmen, we'd won. We had flipping well won. This sort of thing never happened to us, and yet there we were. We felt like the kings of the world and no one would ever mess with us. And our second story. It was me. I called the health department. I hope this is the right place to post this. I don't really have anyone I can tell, so I'm telling you all. Not last Friday, but the one before that, my husband and I went to the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, for dinner. We go to this one in particular as opposed to the American Legion because my husband's cousin, Emma, works as a hostess there. Anyways, Emma's going to seat us, and I see this one girl, B, who appears to be around my age that has really long hair almost to her belt. I noticed her because it appeared we were going to be placed in her section, and her hair was in a very untidy braid in front of her body, touching a plate she was holding. I specifically asked to be placed elsewhere. I don't want hair in my food. No problem. She puts us one section over. Now, this VFW's dining room consists of one large room with tables in rows, like a banquet hall, so you can see everything. Our server comes and we order dinner. We also ordered dinner for Emma, which catches the attention of B. Now, this part is speculation, but I think B became irritated because we skipped her section in the rotation, had a rather large order so she'd miss out on any tip, and Emma and B apparently do not get along for whatever reason. After we ordered, I would see B glaring at us. At this point, I didn't know why, but Emma said they didn't get along and she seemed to automatically hate us. Okay, whatever, I don't really care. For whatever reason, things didn't stop with her glaring. I would notice her going out of her way to come by our table, and then I hear her talking about us. I can't recall what she said, but it wasn't nice. That pissed me off. I've worked as a server before, and I know you don't talk about customers, where they can hear you. I also know it's against the health code to have your hair that close to the food. I could hear her making snide remarks to her friend about us. Look, that's Emma's cousin. She's a B. B, you don't even know me. I'm pretty mild-mannered, but I can definitely be a B if I'm pushed to it. I don't let people treat me or others like crap. Since she wanted to talk about us, I was just going to make a complaint about her hair. I asked Emma why they even let her do it. She said it was because she saw someone else do it, so she does it all the time. I mentioned she seems to be around my age, 25, so she should definitely know it's against the health code. Emma showed me who the manager was, and I made the complaint. I tried to keep Emma out of it. She had no part of it. The manager completely blew me off. Her response was, oh well, insert names or friends, so I'll make her tell her, you're the effing manager, it's your job. They did nothing. After dinner, my husband and I went to the bar in the adjacent room where he had a few drinks, and we waited for Emma to get off work so we could drive her home. Guess who showed up in the bar? B. Apparently, the owner lets everyone who works there who is of age have a free drink after work. So, her and her friend sit across the bar from us, and I can still hear her talking about us. At this point, my husband has had quite a few drinks and really couldn't care less. I really just wanted to yell, grow the F up, but Emma works there. They know we're related, and my husband wants to join that post, and that would be pretty childish of me. So we leave and go home. The following Monday, my husband's at work, and I'm still kind of irritated by all of it. I used to enjoy going there, and that kind of ruined it. So I did what any of you here would. I called the health department. I made a complaint, and I specifically named the manager, who conveniently shares my name so I can remember it, who let her get away with it. Yesterday, Emma texted my husband asking if he called the health department because both B and the manager got in a lot of trouble. My husband doesn't know I called, hence the throwaway, because I didn't want anyone to know I did it and possibly cause retaliation against Emma. He asked me if he called and couldn't remember. Nope, you've been busy. And our next story. Karen wants me to stay open late on Christmas Eve. Short story that happened to me a few years ago. I was working the closing shift at a Dunkin' Donuts on Christmas Eve. We normally close at 9, but since it was a holiday, we closed at 6 so we could spend time with our families. 6 o'clock comes around and I lock the door. I start closing procedures, clean the pots, mop the floors, etc. when I hear a knock on the door. By this point, it's about 6:10. I politely call out, "We're closed." The knocking got louder. I walk over to the door, and this is how the conversation went. Me: "Sorry, we're closed." Karen: "No, you're not. You close at 9. Me: "Sorry, holiday hours." Karen, what? You should have that posted. Me, points to holiday hours posted on the door. Her, well, I need to buy gift cards. I have family coming over tonight, and I want to give each one a $5 gift card. Me, how many gift cards did you want to buy? Her, I need 25 of them. My eyes widen as I calculate how long it would take me to activate 25 separate gift cards. It'd realistically take about a minute for every card. Me, I'm sorry, but there's no way I can do that. I need to clock out soon, and it would take far too long. Plus, I have to be at a party by 7:30. Her, I don't care. The customer's always right. Me, sorry, nothing I can do. I then proceeded to get back to work as Karen yells at me through the windows. After 10 minutes, I don't see her anymore, so I assume she's left. I finish my duties and clock out with my coworker, who was sleeping out back the entire time, by the way. We walk through the door when we're both startled by Karen, who was hiding behind the back exit. She followed me to my truck, yelling at me about how I ruined her Christmas and how I'm an uneducated F working a dead-end job. I was an 18-year-old high school senior at the time, and now she was going to get me fired. I called my manager the next morning. We were open on Christmas Day until noon, and she assured me I wasn't in trouble and that she was banned from our location. And our last story. My car disappeared from my condo parking lot. Someone called the City Department of Code Compliance and told them my car was abandoned. They came to my home, private property, and towed it to impound, and no one notified me in any way. I reported it stolen. I received an $1,100 bill from MVD 20 days later stating my car had been abandoned and to pay an impound or lose the title and $500 fine. I called the City Code of Compliance and complained, and they paid the tow company immediately. When I went to drive the car off the impound lot, the car wouldn't accelerate properly and sounded like it was grinding. I told the tow person, and she said, "Get it off the lot or we'll impound it again." So I drove it home broken. Update. The car was in front of the condo I've lived in for 10 years with plenty of parking and not assigned. It's an older all-wheel drive. We have an HOA, but I don't know if they were involved, but it's possible. I suspect it was the neighbor running the Airbnb next door who called, possibly because it's an older vehicle, although there's no body damage on the car. Update 2. Did diagnostics and repairs on the vehicle, then used the repair bill as evidence to sue the tow company in small claims. I got my money for the repairs, but I never found out who called the tow truck. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.